Welcome to the LA Business Podcast, a forum for business owners and senior executives to share the experiences about the elements that drive their success. Your host is Robert Brill, CEO of Brill Media.co, an Inc. 500 company delivering the power of hyperlocal advertising. Robert writes for Forbes, Inc., and Ad Trade publications. Our goal is to bring you the stories about successes and failures of people who are making big things happen in marketing, entrepreneurship, and management.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the LA Business Podcast. Today we have Arland Whitfield, who is the CEO of Frontier Mining, does some really interesting things in the crypto space. Arland, thanks for being on our show.
It's a pleasure, man. Happy to be here.
So we met at Entrepreneur Organization, and we had a really interesting conversation going over the basics of crypto, of Bitcoin, of why it's revolutionary. So let's actually get started with this conversation. Tell us a little bit about your point of view on crypto. Introduce yourself to our audience, and let's talk about Frontier Mining.
Sounds good. So we're we call it high density compute data center. We focus on high performance applications, mainly blockchain currently, but not limited to that. We're also exploring AI, deep learning, render farms, and applications that don't fall within the traditional data center world. We're we call it frontier because we really see ourselves as pioneering this new space or this niche market. Regarding cryptocurrency as a whole, it's extremely exciting and volatile. I mean, it's all over the place. This week alone, we've seen 10%, 15% jumps in either direction, and that's kind of the norm. But as a core technology, we're really excited about it, and we think that it could be the future of currency. Absolutely.
So I have some crypto holdings, but not significant. It's an interesting space. Tell us your role in the crypto world. What exactly do you guys do?
Yeah, so we're really a hosting provider. Basically providing the racetrack, we like to call it, for the crypto game or the high density compute game. Essentially, we make sure that people's machines, these miners that they're purchasing or other applications, just keep running, keep the lights on. We're a true host or data center solution for them. Because as you know, and as I mentioned last week or a couple weeks ago, these machines are it's like running 4 hair dryers strapped together 24/7 in your living room. It's just not a reasonable ask to run that inside a household. So we allow users to enter that space.
So for a simpleton like me, basically what that means is you have many rooms of storage, or everything is connected to electricity. And you have these, I guess, hard drives?
Oh, so for the actual mechanics of mining, yeah. I mean, so our clients send equipment to us. There's a lot. The mining space itself has gone through a lot of different phases. First it was people mining on their laptops, and then it started to get into more specialized hardware. They were buying like a bunch of CPUs and putting them together, and then went to GPU, like graphics processing, which was more powerful. And then now it's finally at something called an ASIC chip, or an application specific integrated circuit, which its sole purpose is to solve these cryptographic algorithms for miners. And that hardware, I mean, we call them toasters because they look like toasters with 2 big fans on each side. They mine a variety of algorithms for the blockchain, and our clients purchase and ship that equipment to us. We plug it in. These machines are really basic. It's literally an Ethernet port, an internet port, and a power plug. There's no connecting a monitor to these machines. There's no USB. There's no keyboard, mouse, nothing. It's these machines are designed to do one thing and one thing only, and they do it really, really well.
And that's doing math, right? When you say you solve the algorithms, is it?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, there's these cryptographic algorithms that are just giant math problems. Very complex. They use a lot of energy to solve, and everybody's in a race to solve solve this algorithm so they can verify, quote unquote, the blockchain. They can verify their block and add it to the chain.
And so once a block is verified, if the miner who solves the algorithm wins a portion of the crypto, not
Yeah,
wins, but earns.
yeah. So I mean, So mining has really evolved from you used to be able just to use your laptop and mine directly to the quote unquote blockchain. And receive rewards, and those rewards were, the block size is halved over the course of time, but at the time it was 24 bitcoins per block, and you could do that by yourself and earn that at the beginning multiple times a day. It's insane saying that out loud now, but nowadays there's so much competition, and the equipment is so much higher powered. I mean, by 10x, 100x type leaps in the processing and the ability to you know decode these cryptographic algorithms. It only makes sense for people to take thousands of machines, put them together in what are called mining pools, and mine those blocks. So when those blocks are found, the pool distributes the rewards across thousands of people. They divvy up essentially. Right now it's 12.5 Bitcoin. In a couple months, it's going to go down to 6, and they divvy that a reward across many different accounts, and you can receive 0.00001 Bitcoin because you
Right.
can divvy this up. So it really opens up the possibility for an average user to get into a space that otherwise would be impossible to get into right now.
So basically, your business is about a large storage facility that is connected to the internet. If I wanted to get into the mining business, I would buy a bunch of these toasters, or these machines. I'd spend like $50,000 or $100,000 buying these rigs, and then your job is literally to keep the electricity running, to ensure that there's no like issue, that they just stay on,
Yep.
right?
Yep. I mean, that's essentially. I mean, you have fan failures. I mean, these things are. It's like they're running a marathon at sprint speeds all the time. I mean, we're talking the chip temps are 90 degrees C. At times. I mean, they run hot and they run fast. And I think it's important. For the viewers that don't really know. It's kind of like why. This sounds expensive. You're talking about $100,000 in equipment. It's because essentially after you get past the ROI period of a machine, if you're able to do that, and there's a lot of like ifs and thens, and there's a lot of caveats to that. But if you are, a lot of people view it as buying Bitcoin at 50% off. They see it as a machine that after you get past the ROI period, which depending on market fluctuations and how you're buying and selling the product that you're manufacturing, um, you know you could be on you could be extremely profitable. It's like a discount. No, the problem that people are they're getting in the space, like smaller guys, they think they are going to buy this machine, it's literally going to print money, they're going to be profitable day one. And that's kind of a fallacy these days. The market's really changed from what we experienced 2 years ago, where people were buying a machine and getting ROI in a month on their hardware, and then just sitting back and essentially making pure profit from that point on.
How long does it take if I want to get into this business in January of 2020, and I ship you $100,000 worth of these machines? Like, what is it? Does it depend on the price of Bitcoin or the Litecoin or whatever I'm mining? And
Yeah,
how
I
long does
mean,
it take?
that's a loaded question. So like the caveat here is that the cryptographic algorithms have a built-in kind of inflation mechanism, where as more people are contributing to the network, their processing power, there is a mechanism inside the coin called difficulty, or what all the crypto has is where it will increase like proportionally with the amount. So the idea is like if you turned on all the hash power today, as 5 years ago, the difficulty would be the same. It would rise to that occasion, and then people wouldn't people wouldn't mine out the 21 million bitcoins that are in existence or can be mined in a day. It's a
Right.
protection piece.
Sure.
So when people ask, okay, will I be profitable on X and Y? Like there's 3 or 4 different variables we're dealing with. First, the one I just mentioned is difficulty. Like if interest wanes, which is usually correlated to price, difficulty tends to drop even though in the past that hasn't necessarily been the case since the last spike, but in the past it has dropped, which meant that the machines that you had were suddenly mining more of the coin, but the coin's value was less. So then the idea is like, do I hold? And then if you hold, is there, when do you sell, and kind of equalize? So like it's so hard, and I stopped doing it on purpose. In early days, I'd be like, yeah, you're going to be profitable, and and it's going to take 8 months and you're going to be out of it. But the truth is, it's a very, very difficult thing to pin down. There's people much smarter than I am that probably have a better answer than I. But from my standpoint, it's really, you got to look at the market, you got to look at the past, and understand when the best time to buy hardware is. Some people are arguing that is right now. We're seeing record low pricing on machines. Manufacturers are giving away machines, and machines that aren't profitable anymore at today's rates. Like, this is really, it's a buyer's market when it comes to buying hardware, but nobody wants to run the hardware because at today's prices and difficulty, and with the upcoming halving, it's not profitable.
So really, you've got to, like, I think that's an interesting pattern, right? There's like when everyone when it's all over the news,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the gains have already been generated.
You're too late.
You're too late. And
exactly.
That's with stocks, with crypto, with like any trend. It's when
Mm-hmm.
no one's talking about it, and when it's actually really hard because there's pain right now. Now is the time to do it. I think it's like you need a good friend who can tell you when the dips are, because if you just read the news, that's the opposite of what you need to be doing, basically.
Yeah, that's very, it's a very clever point. And I think one example of this is, a couple months ago, an S9, and right now S9s are at the floor, but an S9's a hardware model. They were getting dumped. I mean, like, we were talking, people were, selling them for, $90, $80 a piece. And then the market jumped. And then suddenly they were going for $350, $450 a piece. Same piece of hardware. The only thing that changed was that the market improved, and people like went out and bought them in force. And granted, now anybody that did that, and like, we have clients that had this, went in on that, they are hurting right now, because like that, they went out and bought hardware for $350, and now it's being sold brand new from the same website they bought it from for $100. And in an aftermarket, it's even cheaper. I mean, we're back down to that jump, but like there are these jumps, there's these spikes, and if you're buying hardware and the market's going up, you better hope it keeps going up, because if it doesn't, you're in trouble.
So is there a business opportunity for some sort of like consultation, like like someone with your knowledge, like everything you're saying, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I would have no way of ever distinguishing that this is actually happening on my own by reading articles. Like, are there consultants in your business that provide this type of knowledge?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely people that, I mean, I would never be comfortable consulting on it because, frankly, I'm a tech guy. I'm not a financial guy, and there's so many like mechanisms that I'm sure I'm not aware of. But there are people that are out there that advise on portfolios and strategies. I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's really, there's a whole kind of cottage market that's coming up around, like, how do I know when the moment is, when it's time to go? The only reason why I have any context is because I'm in the data center business, and I can see what my clients are sending us. I can see what's selling, what people are turning off, what, when a client comes to me and says, hey, I'm not profitable, what do I do? And they're liquidating machines. And so I get a very, like, I'm like right there, like next, like very close to it.
Yeah.
So I get kind of a very real world temperature on what's going on out there. And I think it's a unique perspective. But
Absolutely. So how did you come to be in this business? Like, 'cause this is such a like out of the left field type of thing. Like, how does one get into this type of business?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I grew up in my parents' company, which is a managed service provider out of Los Angeles, and I grew up around IT, and I've never not been in the kind of the IT server data center kind of space. It's something I've been in and something I know. And when I was working corporate, I saw crypto. I saw this opportunity rising, and I ended up leaving my corporate job to build mining machines for myself, because I bought some Litecoin and sold it, at 10x my money in it, and had cash to buy hardware. And I thought it was a really cool idea, so I bought some machines to try it out. And some of my friends wanted it, some of my family wanted it, some associates wanted it in my network. And I started building the machines and realizing nobody had anywhere to put it. Like I
And
mentioned at
that's
the
the critical
beginning.
part. That's the
Yeah.
critical part, because I remember at one point in the story, like your room was heating up.
Oh yeah, I mean, I built this thing with my girlfriend, and we thought it was a weekend, and I was like, this is great. Turned it on, went to lunch, kind of checking on my phone, and came back. And my roommate, he came back a little bit before me, was like, dude, I came in here, it was 100 degrees. Like, I don't know what you're running, what you're doing, but the entire 1,000 square foot apartment was completely overheated. And I was like, well, crap, or I'm going to run it, and not to mention the power is really expensive in Los Angeles, or, it's where I'm based. And so, I started to, and my other clients were having similar issues. They say, this looks great. I got it home, turned it on. It seems to be making me money, but holy crap, how am I going to cool this? And I think my AC bill is going to be higher than what I make, which is a valid concern. And so I just started looking for space. And of course, being in the data center space, I was fortunate enough to have access to some racks in a true data center in LA, in El Segundo. And I hosted some machines there, and that filled up within about a week. And I put a kind of I have space, like kind of like a sign up page, a wait list for space, and it filled up like crazy. I mean, like, I didn't pay for pay per click at that time. I didn't have really any SEO. I literally just put up a page and didn't do much marketing, and people started finding me and signing up.
So literally, it was like, hey, I have space to hold your toasters,
Mm-hmm.
and done. You have a business.
Pretty much. I mean, and the messed up part was that I didn't have space. It was kind of like, am I in this bubble and it's just the people I know, or is there a real demand for this? Is there, like, am I not? I can't be the only one. And that was very quickly verified. Like, oh no, I mean, there's people, and since that point, I mean, our biggest issue, at Frontier has not been getting clients. It's been finding the product, finding the space. And that's basically my full-time job, is trying to find more space for the company so we can continue to grow. And that's a whole can of worms. Vendors and power companies and locations and I mean, there's so many. You just deal, because we're in such a emerging industry. You're dealing with, like, I mean, one of our first sites, it was owned by a demolition company, and it turns out demolition companies aren't very good at building data center space, or running it, or even being on the same site. They're great at knocking down things, but not building things. So, like, but that's the characters we're dealing with. There's no, like, up until recently, there's been no real data center players in the space, and it's something that we've always prided ourselves with, is that, yeah, our sites aren't true data centers. We call them tier 0 centers, instead of, you have tier 1 through 4 in traditional data centers, and we're tier 0, we're below it. But they're cheap, they're efficient, and they're run professionally. We implement best practices from, the 25 years of MSP experience, in my parents' company, and really try to provide that white glove service that I think people are missing. The approachability, the friendliness, the understanding, that the space is missing. It's very obtuse. You talk about Bitcoin and how to, all this stuff, and it just seems very scary. And we try to make it approachable, by anybody.
So one of the lessons here for me is, it's one of the things that it's like the hardest thing to do. It's like have an inside beat on how marketplace is going,
Mm-hmm.
and basically pick the right industry at the right time. Timing is everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I've reflected quite a bit, because it's been a whirlwind. I mean, it wasn't even 2 years ago when we started this, and we're opening up our 6th location in Canada, this month. And reflecting back on what happened, I mean, yeah, my skill set was right. My vision is correct on this, but yeah, it's 100%. There's so much luck. Luck as a concept, and I think, there is such thing as luck, but being ready for it is also important. And it was a good perfect storm. It really was. I don't know how you find that, like how do you manufacture that, but it was definitely,
Yeah.
it
You
was
know,
it
I
was it was
think
nuts.
yeah. I mean, you definitely can't manufacture luck. I think when I look back at my experiences, like I've been in advertising for 16 years,
Hmm.
and it's not the same thing, but the similarity is that like you have time on your hands. If you're patient enough, if I was patient enough and I saw the trends, I was like, okay, I could identify this next thing that's going to be really important for our business, and that's the thing that I struck on. The
Hmm.
challenge is the luck is like, do you have the right skill set to be able to capitalize on a trend that you're seeing? And that's a challenge. Everyone has really great ideas. People do. You hear all the time, I had the idea of Uber before they even started. That's
Hmm.
cool, but you didn't have the resources to execute on it. And that's really the big difference between someone who has an idea and someone who's a business owner doing the thing. And I suspect that there's a lot of ups and downs along the way. How do you get business today? Like, you're a bigger company. From my understanding is like you are one of the top companies in this business. Like, how does that how do you scale in this situation right now?
Yeah, well, that's a challenge that we're facing every day. A single bad deal can have lasting impact and cause a lot of headaches. So right now, currently where the market is, to answer your first question, getting our deals. A lot of stuff's word of mouth right now. We also rank number one on over 80 keywords related to mining. Our website. I have an SEO background, and so I kind of know a little bit about what to do there, and it was able to get our site to pop up pretty quickly. So website traffic. We also deal with a lot of brokers that are in the space. There's a few big players, and um, they tend to bring us a good pipeline of deals. Not all of them close. Actually, very few of them close, but it gets us on the map. Um, but actually, the funny thing is that with mining, people reinvest in their assets. So they'll take their earnings and they'll buy more equipment. They'll double down. They'll keep going. So I mean, we've had clients go from being uh, I don't know, 10 units, which is like a very small deal. Now it wasn't when we started, but now they have 400 units. Um, and they just say, "Hey, I got more stuff I want to send. I got more stuff I can send," and they just keep tossing it. So a lot of it has been just people liking our service, liking our pricing and what we're doing, and believing that we're going to be there to secure their asset. Because at the end of the day, like, they're dumping money into an asset and hoping they get ROI, and the only thing that prevents them from not getting ROI is the machine not running. So they're trusting us with this. It could be their child, their kid's college fund, or I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of responsibility and onus, and I think having the top quality service is what in that word of mouth is what continued to let us grow and differentiate ourselves in this space. Um, and then from just like a straight up sales lead gen perspective, like a nuts and bolts, we look, there's a lot of forums that have users that talk about this stuff. Telegram, the blockchain community is very large on Telegram. There's hundreds and hundreds of people in these chat rooms talking about where to put stuff and what works and what doesn't, and capitalizing on kind of skimming those and seeing when people saying, "Hey, where should I put this stuff? I just bought it," has been a really useful tool. And then finally, and what we're currently working on is we're working on institutional guys and what we call like industrial or institutional miners. These guys are like hedge funds, family offices, investment bank type groups that have a lot of capital that want to get into the space, um, and they usually demand more nuanced contracts, revenue shares, partnerships. We're closer to cost, but we have more volume type deals. And I really do see that as the market matures, these players are going to play a bigger part as the little guys start to get phased out. Um,
Wow.
so that getting into that space, we take our current portfolio, our current reputation, and we walk into the door on these negotiations and say, "Look, this is what we've done. This is what we've built. You can come see our centers. We're going to create this custom solution for you." And so far, it's worked out pretty well. I mean, I think it's an interesting.
There's a lot of places I want to go. I'm on Ahrefs right now, looking at the profile. So your site's bitcoinmine.net, right?
Yeah,
Um,
SEO up the butt on that URL.
yeah, it's incredible. Like, you're like incredible. Like, I'm in the SEO. I'm not in the SEO business. We don't offer that to our clients. It's purely advertising. But
Sure.
working on SEO for my own business.
Mhm.
What are some tips that you've learned or you've deployed along the way that our listeners can deploy that might be relevant?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that's missed, like one of the most simple, like, things to focus on is really pay attention to your headings. Like, H1, H2, H3, like Google really looks at your stuff and flows down that way. So make sure, like, if you have a H1 tag, it references something in the H2 tag and it references something in the H3 tag. So when Google's algorithms look at your site, they're like, okay, the H1 is mining, and then the next H2, which is like the subheading, is like actually, I probably should explain. H1, they're the headings that, in the font kind of on your website. You have the big text and the little text. So
Sure.
you kind of create like a waterfall. You go, Bitcoin mining, and then the fastest way to get Bitcoin mining is the H2 tag, and then underneath that you talk about how Bitcoin mining is, how we're it creates this story, and you really got to see it as like you're walking down a path. And I think people forget, they just go when they use the H1 tag all the way through, and like from Google's algorithm, they're just like, oh, this is just a bunch of headers. There's no context there. There's no substance. So I think it's really important to be conscious of what you're using, because a lot of like web designers or people that are working in the space um, will just say, okay, I want to use the big text. I want to use a little text, but there's not a why. The other thing that I think is really important is the quote unquote credibility indicators. Having other companies' logos, having certifications you have or awards. One of our philosophies, and I say "our" because I worked in my parents' company about on this stuff, is that you want to have 7 to 8 credibility indicators on your homepage. Whether that's a picture of the CEO, a letter written by the CEO with his signature on it. There's a lot of like
Really?
touches that you can have. Yeah, you wouldn't believe how well that works.
So if I
Um,
put my signature, what?
I would go to, so the parent company is called dcgla.com. Go to dcgla.com and you'll see right there, my father, his signature is right there, like above the fold. And there's something about that. Also, his entire staff is right there in the picture underneath. You can see a picture of him again with his signature, and then all these, Market Watch, Star Tribune, Yahoo Finance, a picture of his data center. It's funny that there's this trend to go to these hyper modern minimalist sites with blocky colors. Well, at the end of the day, if you're putting an investment with a company, if you're putting an investment with, like, say, Frontier or Brill Media, they want to see the person they're handing the money. They don't want to see shapes and colors. And like, it's something as valuable as, like, people could send us millions of dollars worth of equipment. They want to see the guy they're sending it to. And the same thing, with my parents' company here. They manage your IT. They have all your HR records. They have, everything. Everything. It's all in their cloud, and you're not going to give that to some shapes and colors. You're going to give that to, you know, a picture of a dude and his team. Every engineer that's on that site is actually working in that office. And when you go and you say, I'm going to, go with this guy, and they show up at your company, at your headquarters, and it's the guy that's on the site. That feels better. From like just
So
a driving standpoint.
so is that I get the social
Mhm.
point of that,
Mhm.
right? Trust, building trust. Is there an SEO component to that
Mhm.
as well?
Yeah,
Like,
so the signature, not so much, but having credibility indicators, like the Yahoo, like you want to name that, the actual picture, like Fast Company or Marketplace, and start to kind of backlinks are even better if you can link to articles off those credibility indicators. But people, the algorithm's really looking to see, are people talking about you outside of your website?
mhm.
But like, not just like, I know there's like those companies that create hundreds of backlinks, for like $5 or whatever, and they go list on a bunch of sites and white text. That doesn't work anymore. The algorithm's been updated. It's really about linking to real sites with, page. I'm sure you're aware of PageRank, high page ranks. You want to have that, we call it like the quote unquote the juice flow from those high page ranks to yours. And make sure if you're doing an article for Yahoo or you're getting posted somewhere with a high page rank, that the link that they link to your website is a follow link, not a no follow link. A
How
lot
do
of
I
companies,
do that? How do I ensure that?
you just tell them, you say, this is my link to my website. Make it I don't want a no follow link. I want a follow link.
Okay.
Because basically the no follow is literally telling the bot that's on yahoo.com scraping that content, this link's not important, don't go here.
Oh,
So yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, it completely like, I think a lot of people are doing like pro bono stuff for these sites, and they're not requesting that. And the sites, I mean, essentially think of it like water. Like they have this picture of water, and then you have your website, and you say, okay, I'm writing this article, and they create this link, and if they make it a follow link, a little bit of that water drips into your cup, and you become your page rank raises. But they can go, actually, we're not going to let any of our water out and keep our page rank as high it is, and patch that. And I think it's missed. It's definitely a miss for those people that are spending so much time, generating great content, and they're not aware of this one little caveat, the whole reason why they're doing it.
I like it. That's super interesting. So what does 2020 look like for you? Is it just continue scaling? Are there any big things happening in the business?
Yeah, I mean, 2020 is going to be the year of hopefully stability. We've 10x in the last year. We need to like slow down, and we've built all these systems, and we've hired all these people, and like a period of 2 to 3 months, going from just me and one guy to a full team of 8 people. It was, it's a jump in a 2 month period. So we're, stepping back and making sure that everybody's roles are really defined, the processes are in place, is really important. But at the same time, also reinventing how we're doing sales. The market is transitioning, especially with the upcoming halving of Bitcoin, where it's going to become twice as hard to mine the same amount of Bitcoin.
Right.
When that, we got to start focusing on larger scale clients, industrial, and trying to figure out what they need and what product looks like is at a forefront. And then finally, the last piece is we want more AI. We want more deep learning. We want to start working with government, the aerospace on these AI projects that happen to be. There's a lot of government aerospace near one of our centers, and we want to start bringing them into our site to pitch them on saving uh, 50%, 100% on their like 90% on their power bills for their data center space in our centers that are hyper local.
How does AI play into this? I don't get how AI makes a difference here. It's like you're just running, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I'm not running it. I mean, it wouldn't be my AI. It would be AI. Like we'd be hosting their AI platform essentially.
So are you? So does that mean fundamentally, like moving or expanding into other types of businesses that are not mining? Is that the point?
Yeah. I mean, it's diversifying our portfolio of clients. I mean, we talk about high density compute, high performance compute. That's what blockchain is. It's not. I mean, they have specialized machines, but you know, I don't care if you're using my power internet to power a Bitcoin blockchain, or you're using it to do AI on your business applications. Both processes are power intensive. And people are hosting these in traditional data centers that aren't really set up to have that much heat in that space, and we're set up to have a ton of heat and a ton of power. So it makes a lot of sense for us to start working with this kind of next wave of compute. And we talk about the future of computing. Blockchain is obviously giving us a glance of that, at what those data centers look like, what the requirements are. But I think really truly it's going to be AI, deep learning, render farms, and remote compute. And that's what these centers are going to eventually one day be transitioned to. It's not all about mining.
So you're really a data. I get it, and you said this like a few times, and it's just now clicking for me. Like you're a data service. Like you're a data mining. You're a data. What's the phrase? Like,
high density compute data center hosting provider. Yeah.
If you never touch Bitcoin, you could still be that and serve a lot of different. That's fascinating.
Yeah, we want to be the data center, the high density compute data center for the world. We want to build microgrids of data centers that are close to key business areas, and provide all their hosting needs at a low cost.
Amazing. Okay, as we wrap up, I'm a big foodie. I like taking food photos. Where do you love to eat in Los Angeles or wherever you might go in your travels?
Sure. So I know you're around LA. Have you been to Sugarfish?
I have.
Okay. I like Sugarfish a lot. It's a big fan of that. I also really like Din Tai Fung out of
Ooh,
Glendale.
yeah.
Have you been there?
Have
Have you been there? Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I've been to the one in Hong Kong.
You have.
I have.
That's incredible. I think that I'm not a big Chinese food fan, but Din Tai Fung I think just provides really clean food at a really good price, and it's incredible. I mean, the flavors are very unique. There's always a line, man. It's so hard to get in that place during like dinner rush. I mean, forget it. It's like 2-3 hours, but
Yeah.
definitely like it. And then finally Raffy's in Glendale as well. Yes. Yeah, you like Raffy?
I love Raffy's, I grew up in Glendale.
Oh, so you know this place well. Okay.
I do, but I actually only started going to Raffy's like when I moved away, and I discovered it. Or I didn't discover it. Someone told me about it. Like Glendale is such a really interesting city because when I grew up, it was like we spent a lot of time in Burbank, but like the Americana and everything around there is like I left for New York and I came back and you had the Americana. I was like, Mom, you have like a cool hip city now. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, the Caruso did a real good job there. I was there last night and he had like the fountain and the tree, like it's Christmas. So, all the lights are up but then this like music came on, the fountain's doing its choreographically and then it starts snowing the entire place. Like he's got these like, it's soap. It's like soap machines, but he's got them all around and it just looks like, he made the place look like Disneyland. Like it's a winter wonderland. Yeah. And the guy's got vision. I mean, he's just insane.
So, how can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not big on social media, unfortunately, but my email address is Arland, ARLAND @frontiermining.co. If you have any questions, reach out. As well as my website, frontiermining.co. There's a helpful chat bot there that will get you to one of us if you have questions regarding mining. I mean, I think those are the two best places to reach me.
Very cool. Thank you, Arland. Appreciate your time.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.